was a meeting of the minds. Did anybody ever count the people in the pictures to see how many people were actually physically there?
Yeah, we did. I personally did a count while I was there, and I estimated between, I'm going to say a low, and this is very conservative, 3,500 to closer to 5,000. My guess number is about 4,200. And the reason I say that is because what they didn't show, and what a lot of people didn't count, if you looked up on either side of the convention center, they were down the rows there.
Sure.
And I went in and counted one side row only. There was 450 people on that one side. And then the other side was roughly the same. So there's 1,000 almost right there. And then the crowd in the center was 4, 5, 10 times the size of that. So
well, I counted it, I did it another way. I counted by going, I actually walked through the entire crowd handing out my handout, and by the time I'd hand out 800 of them, and I figured I'd only done one to every fifth person or so.
Right. Yeah, so that gave you a good sense.
Yeah.
Well, you can, there's a photo on our website now that shows the crowd, and you can actually count the people in the front row.
Yeah.
There's about 200 people in the front
That's
row,
right.
and the
And then
rows go
multiply
back
the
another
rows.
20, 40, 50 rows. So it's like,
Yeah.
there was
Because
a lot of
there
people
was
there.
there was a lot of people saying, well, it didn't really happen. There was only, some of the media reports said 1,200, 1,500 people.
Listen, Norman Spector and Vaughn Palmer were saying 400 and 500. I was actually embarrassed for Vaughn because he's usually pretty accurate. But in this one, saying 400 or 500 people when he wasn't even there, I thought he hurt himself a little bit because he's usually a stickler for accuracy, and there he just didn't even care. So, and it's funny because he's against the HST apparently. He just hates all the people who are fighting it. Figure that one out.
I really like Vaughn Palmer, and it makes me sad that he's against Bill, but he sort of made up for a little bit when the interview with Bill over the book, and then rerunning the interview.
I don't think it's anything personal. I just think he's got to earn a paycheck, and he knows who his boss is, and it's the corporate media that doesn't want this to happen. So, I mean, if he starts writing column after column about how rotten the HST is and how terrific the guys fighting it are, how long are we going to see his column? I don't know. Maybe that's cynical. Sorry, Vaughn.
Well, if anybody wants to make a phone call, if you happen to be watching, there is an open line. And you could even phone from Florida if you're happy watching this on vacation. The number is 866-980-0499 if you're outside the Lower Mainland. If you're inside the Lower Mainland, just give us a call at 604-980-0321.
And as you've heard, we've also we've got a chat up on the broadcast, and you can ask a question on the chat. We've had one in here. We've had a comment from Hooterville Mike. I bet Campbell will step down after the Olympics. O-W-E. Good luck to the stand-in.
Good luck to the stand-in. That's a good
That's
one.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
so, I mean, we have some fun with this.
It's an interesting world, and this is a different method than we were using before. It's called Ustream. And as I said, Mitchell, with that little black notepad that he had over there, was broadcasting his Capilano University class back to me here in the living room while I was sitting here working on stuff.
Good stuff.
And
we've got the archives.
And it's that simple to do. And you can actually, we haven't done this yet, but we can.
See how it says join as co-host? If I had a camera on this. Mitchell's going to come up as a
yourself
co-host.
and go in
You
there.
can webcam yourself and you come up as a co-host in here.
That's awesome.
So, and we're not sure how the sound's going to work on that thing.
There might be a little bit of a delay.
Well,
I don't turn on sound for it.
Okay.
Well, we need so that's
when I listened to it a week or two ago, I was listening to the first
No,
part of the show.
talking about when you've got a co-host coming in, because there's
that's
usually
that's what our question is. But today,
somebody's calling.
Somebody's calling.
Today they were doing something similar to that on CNN because Washington, of course, was all snowed in, and you couldn't get around. So they had their reporters using this method to get back on air.
Right.
On CNN. So
my son lives in Virginia, and
You're on the air.
Hello, go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm just wondering, I mean, when we tally up this whole thing, I mean, is this really this HST movement? I missed the first part of the show. Is this all about the Olympics? Is this finding a way to pay for the Olympics? And at the end of the day, what is this going to cost the province, and how on earth are we going to pay it? Because I know it's going to be a lot.
You're talking about the Olympics, or are you talking about HST?
Well, I'm thinking that the HST, pretty much everything the Campbell government is doing is in some way trying to prepare for this blow that the Olympics is going to bring, because it's nowhere near what they tried to say it was going to be. And they've already, there's this hinting of in the billions of cost overages.
Well, what they need is the HST to pay for the, what is they called, the dry ice that they're using to make the ski.
Yes.
Well, I think the caller makes
Cypress Mountain.
a great point. I mean, is it coincidental that the HST is coming in on July 1st, just after the Olympics is there?
But it's coming in Ontario at the same time, so
Yeah.
that may be.
Yeah, well, fair
coincidental.
enough. But in Ontario, they had basically said 6 months before that they were going to do it.
They were going to do it.
Campbell
Campbell
said we
said no.
weren't. And
Yeah.
then I think somebody sat down and took a look and went, we don't have the money to pay for this mess.
Well,
and,
I mean,
and,
he
and
kind of had a perfect storm too. I mean, we had a pretty much of an economic meltdown, and they'd already committed to the Olympics.
well,
so-
not only that's very true, Richard, and not only had they committed to the Olympics, they'd committed to a number of other infrastructure projects related
well,
to them.
I was over. I
So-
spent the afternoon sitting down by the bridge over at the Port Mann there, and while they were putting up an Osprey Tower. So that's one of the big ones.
So
and we've got
what
two
they
other
did,
big ones.
what they did really, David, and in fact, you've been around politics a long time, so the mistake they made was they spent.
I think I just shut it down.
You just blew the.
Oh, no, just the monitor.
Are we still on?
We're
We're still on.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What I was saying is what they did was the opposite of what most responsible governments do, which is to save some money in good times, in boom times, and get you through the tough times.
Yep.
They spent like drunken sailors during the good times,
Yep.
and now that we're going to be hit with a crunch, so it's going to be doubly as bad. They probably would have had a slowdown, and they would have had a lessening of revenues on the resource sector anyway. But now they've got that coupled with massive infrastructure overruns, and so huge costs. It's a mess that they're going to have a real difficulty digging themselves out of.
Caller, do you have any more comment to make on that? I'm not sure that our answer is any better than yours, and I have a sneaking suspicion that you have a good answer.
Well, I just wonder if there's, I mean, not to change the subject, but I wonder if there's any good news coming out of these Olympics from a financial standpoint. Is there any money that's come to the province they didn't anticipate? I mean, at one point they said that expenses were higher, but it's okay, revenues were higher too, which, higher than expected. But I thought, well, who's running this? They didn't know how much it was going to cost or how much they were going to get. I mean, that's, I wouldn't even want to admit that. But is there any good news other than, it's going to be one heck of a party?
Yeah,
Big deal.
the good news is of the $900 million that the security is costing, I don't think BC's picking up all of it.
Yeah. And the other good news is we could win gold in hockey.
That's right, and we could. And
What are those
if they
gold medals
donate
worth?
them, we'll
Can we
melt them
sell
down.
Sorry?
What are those gold medals worth? Do you think they'll let us sell them?
Yeah.
Auction them on eBay?
Can I ask, what sort of business are you in, sir?
I produce entertainment. I produce videos.
Okay. So are you seeing any increase in your business because of the Olympics?
Absolutely none.
And the taxi drivers are starving. Grocery stores, every business up in Whistler is starving to death because there's no parking to get into them.
Yep.
Businesses along Canby, businesses along East Hastings are all down 50%.
Well, I know snow trucking has picked up.
Yes.
Snow trucking,
yes.
They're doing well.
The studios in town have all been taking a hit. Everyone is sort of in agreement that there has been absolutely no work of any description. So a lot of them filled out forms to be suppliers, official suppliers for the Olympics. It hasn't really turned into anything at all.
Mitchell, you have a comment.
Don't forget, tow trucks drivers are definitely
tow
doubled,
trucks
and they
are-
tripled the bylaw enforcement squad.
Yes, that's right. My parking ticket quota has gone up more than 3 times in the last 2 months.
But it makes a very good point, which is they've done everything to tell Vancouverites and Lower Mainlanders stay out of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went down there the other day for the press conference on the HST.
Yes.
And I pulled over to the side of the road because one of the radio stations in Kamloops called to do a little interview. So I pull over in what looked like a parking spot. It was a meter. There was nobody there. Cars running.
Oh,
and
you didn't see that sign that said no
The
parking.
blue one.
No,
out there.
I didn't see the sign that said motorcycle only. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm talking on this thing, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a guy lift up the windshield wiper and stick a ticket in. But I'm live on the radio. I can't do anything, so I finished the interview, and I rolled down the window like 30 seconds later, and I said to the guy, "Was that necessary?" He says, "Well, you're parked in a no parking. That's a motorcycle only." I said, "My car's running. I'm sitting in the car. I'm talking on the phone. I'm done in 30 seconds. You could have wrapped me on the window and said, move on."
Not only that, but you're talking on the phone, so you're required to pull over because they just brought in the new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I want to hear. Are you going to fight it? Because I want
Well,
to hear about that.
Yeah, I think I might just throw it away and let them. I don't. Do they get you when you go to
Oh,
renew your
they get
license?
you, absolutely.
They can arrest you some other time in the
yeah.
future,
Yes,
so you
yes.
don't want it
I
to
guess
be.
I'll have to pay them.
We want you to fight it because I want to know whether or not you can use the fact that you had to pull over in order to answer the telephone as a defense.
Well, that was why I was doing it. So
Right.
I don't know if that's legal or
If
not.
your car was running,
You'll be
Yeah.
one of the first people in traffic court.
there you go.
But
I
all,
usually lose in traffic court,
but
but
all the
I
all
should try
the
it.
all the signs and so on are saying no stopping. Period.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that
No,
anything more you want to add, caller?
He said he got
No,
a
I think the
ticket.
show is great. I would say that I think you might be in tough there, Chris, because the law says you have to be legally parked to use your phone. That's the law.
Yeah, and I thought I was, but I wasn't. So yeah, fair enough.
They're going to get you on that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Sorry, you're not
That's
getting
an
any extra
interesting
work
one,
there,
yeah.
caller.
Not now. Now I won't.
Thanks very much.
Great show. Thanks a lot.